Hey everyone, Cell here. In this video, I'll be showing you how to effectively farm scarabs in the upcoming Ancestors/Phrecia event, which is based on Mirage League. If you're in trade, this strategy is generally referred to as a shovel farm and has the potential to make you a lot of money at pretty much any point in the league, or the event, rather. If Breach becomes popular, you can target farm Breach scarabs. If there's a hot blight strategy that's happening, you can just switch over to farming blight scarabs, etc. Scarabs are pretty much always in demand, and some of them can be quite expensive as a result of how important and or rare they are. If you're playing solo self-found, this will be your primary way to get scarabs, which of course are incredibly important as a set of supplies for mapping for most strategies you'll be using in SSF. Having played SSF myself almost exclusively for the entire time that scarabs have been in the game, this is the best strategy for farming them that I've ever personally seen. So first, let's talk about some requirements. There aren't a whole lot of absolute requirements to get started with the strategy, but you will want 5 scarab slots instead of the baseline 3, and to unlock the 4th and 5th ones, you'll need to do a Maven 10 boss Atlas invitation and complete a nightmare map. The Maven invitation should be easy enough for most builds, but if you think you might struggle with completing a nightmare map, then you can use a Scarab of the Dextral and Scarab of the Sinistral together to get rid of any map modifiers and make the map drastically easier. If you aren't familiar with those scarabs, they're located on the right side in the general scarab section of the Scarab tab, and they provide increased effect of affixes of one type and remove the effect of the other category. So you're boosting suffixes but nullifying prefixes, or you're boosting prefixes but nullifying suffixes. If you use them together, you have 100% increased effect of both prefixes and suffixes, but they also have no effect whatsoever. And so that means essentially you'll be running the map without any modifiers. The only other hard requirement would be a starting set of scarabs, say 10 or 20 maps worth of scarabs for whichever of the 3 tiers of the strategy I'll discuss here in a moment. And that's pretty much it in terms of things you'll absolutely need, but of course having better maps, meaning 8-mod corrupted maps, and more Atlas passes will benefit the returns you get from this strategy. I'll touch on this when we go through each strategy here in a moment, but of course the primary value to be derived from this strategy is from the scarabs themselves, and you will get some potential tangential gains in raw currency from Arcanist boxes and in divination cards from Diviner's boxes. Alright, so the first and lowest effort / currency input method is going to be using 3 normal ambush scarabs, which add additional strongboxes for each, 1 ambush scarab of hidden compartments, which gives a chance for strongboxes to be reopened again, and 1 ambush scarab of potency. This will increase the effect of the mods on the strongboxes themselves, and that's exactly what we want because we are primarily getting scarabs from strongboxes, and we want to increase the value of modifiers that either add scarabs to the strongbox or that increase the amount of scarabs that are in the strongbox. If we roll a, say, 40% increased scarabs in a strongbox, the scarab would take it to 70% instead, which is obviously a pretty significant gain. And for this lower effort strategy, we are also using tamper-proof, just to kind of blitz the maps, get in, get out, not worry about rolling them, because either we don't have chaos or because we're doing a different strategy entirely that we're kind of adding strongbox farming into as like a mix-in sort of deal. But otherwise, we don't want to chaos spam our strongboxes for this strategy. As a result of that, you will definitely notice that you're getting fewer scarabs per map and per hour than the other methods I'll go over. But if you're really strapped for chaos early on, I've been able to fully sustain this strategy myself in SSF, and it's definitely a viable option early on before you get to the point of either wanting to or being able to afford to chaos spam. And for all three of these strategies, the general gist is that we are going into the Mirage, which is in every zone in Mirage League, and looking for strong boxes which have been converted to operatives strong boxes. That can only happen within the Mirage. And so in order to have the Mirage encapsulate as many strong boxes as possible, which can then potentially be converted to operatives boxes, we're running the Haunted Mansion map. The community sentiment is that this is the best map as a smaller map to encompass a greater percentage of the map in the Mirage and therefore have a better chance at hitting more strong boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and, run a map here myself if I can spread my scarabs out properly. Doesn't matter if you want to run Eater or Exarch here, because we're running the same map repeatedly, you won't be able to run the Maven. But I'll go over that a little more when I get into some Atlas tree details. So we're going to go in here, and you do want to be using corrupted 8 mod maps for this. If you don't have the scarabs to farm those yet, being the cartography scarabs in the upper left corner here, then you can run a 6 mod map. I definitely wouldn't alkengo the strategy or anything like that. Run a couple 6 mod maps if you have to in order to get your starting scarabs for map farming. Farm some 8 mod maps or buy them if you're in trade and use those. You do not want originator maps for this for a reason I will go over after this initial showcase. And you have to bear with me. I've been playing PoE 2, and apparently my hang on. Apparently my item filter wasn't applying at all, so I was seeing a bunch of junk. So anyways, the general gist is, for the lowest effort strategy here, you rush in, you find the Mirage, you open the Mirage with whatever, and I'm purposely not going to pick more scarabs found in the area, just to demonstrate a point.
Your wish has been granted.
But we'll then go into the Mirage, and there is a chance that we don't see what we're looking for here. But that chance is pretty low. Random fracturing orb, okay. Opalescent strong boxes are also unique to the Mirage, and this can give you jewels, if that's something you're interested in. Otherwise, we're kind of making our way through here and looking for operative strongbox. We'll open this one just to get that out of the way. And we'll open it again because we have 31% chance to reopen. And then I'm going to try to open this up and leave right away. We can see that we have some additional scarabs. Oh, perfect. We can reopen it. Additional scarabs being essence, except we have a transformational effect that says all contained scarabs are the same type. There's a lot of debate in the community over whether or not that's good or bad, but in the end, it really shouldn't make that big of a difference if you're farming a lot of scarabs. So containing additional scarabs is one of the mods you want, and increased quantity of items found in the box might be how it's phrased, but you're looking for either of those. Obviously, in this strategy running corrupted boxes, we don't have any agency over that, but the idea is you get in, you look for the operatives boxes, you can open the other boxes if you want. I'm just not for the sake of the demonstration here. And once you are confident you've seen all of your strong boxes, you can just go ahead and leave the Mirage. If you have an interest in doing anything else in the map, you can go ahead and do that as well. But that really is all there is to the lowest effort strategy in particular. Alright, the next strategy is one I would call the medium effort and input method. And that's using the exact same scarabs as before, running an 8 mod map, running 3 ambush scarabs, 1 ambush scarab of hidden compartments, and 1 ambush scarab of potency, except this time in our inventory we're bringing a stack or more of chaos orbs and exalted orbs, and some scours and alks as well, because we'll need to potentially identify and scour some boxes down to normal to make them rare. essentially exactly the same as the prior strategy. You can open boxes outside of the Mirage if you want to and do other stuff, except when we get into the Mirage and find operative boxes, then we are going to chaos spam them for increased quantity of items contained in the box. Alright, this is going to be slightly annoying because of the build I'm playing and I have to keep spamming BV, but essentially you'll find an operative's box, you'll alch it, and in this case I got increased quantity of contained items, which is exactly what we want, and it's even quite a high roll, 52 out of the base maximum of 60, except I got all scarabs are the same type, so I personally like to reroll over those, and in this case I got 61%, which is a lower roll, near minimum even, and 3 additional incursion scarabs. So I'm not going to exalt this. I don't know, I don't remember. I think the mod I just rolled away from is a suffix, so I'm not going to exalt this one, because there's pretty much only detriment for me, in my opinion. So I'm going to be okay with opening that one. You can roll for higher percentages if you really want to. Personally, I don't like to bother with that. I just like to get the main roll there, whatever percentage it is, and then open the box and be on my way. But as you can see, nice little explosion of scarabs here. A few dozen of them from a box, and I even got a rare horn scarab of bloodlines as well. Outside of the rolling with chaos and exalted orbs, that strategy is functionally identical to the previous one. Same scarabs, same maps. Little higher effort, and you will notice yourself getting more scarabs. And even if you're only seeing a few operative boxes per map, you may notice yourself having so many scarabs you have to leave the Mirage and come back. If you do that, even if you're in solo self-found, you probably want to update your loot filter in order to get rid of some of the scarabs that you're never going to use. You can technically 3-1 them for other random scarabs. So for example, I'm never going to use a normal betrayal scarab because I can just spec into betrayal chance on the tree to get 100% if I want to. So I would take out 60 of these at a time or more, multiples of 3, trade them in. But that kind of isn't worth the time it takes to do so at the end of the day. So if you don't want to bother with that and leaving the Mirage potentially multiple times per map at the high end, if you get lucky or something, then you can start hiding those lower value scarabs. And in Trade League, of course, you definitely want to do that because of the efficiency gains from being in trade make that a bigger deal than in solo self-found. And the last and highest effort / input method for this strategy is going to use one of each ambush scarab. So 1 ambush, hidden compartments for reopening chance, potency for better explicit mods, containment for more strong boxes in general. So loads of strong boxes, 3 times as many as the previous strategy, roughly. And an ambush scarab of discernment for strong boxes to be rarer varieties. There is some debate in the community about whether the discernment scarab actually impacts the number of operative boxes you find. So if you're just farming scarabs, I would certainly test this out and see whether you like using this one or just an additional normal ambush scarab. But if you're making a point to open the Arcanist and Diviner's boxes, either inside the Mirage or outside the Mirage, then definitely keep using this one because it is going to have an impact on those for sure. And you can run this with either a normal corrupted 8 mod tier 16 map, or you can use a fully miraged map. There's quite a big price increase going from, say, a normal 8 mod map to a corrupted 8 mod full mirage map. So definitely, again, kind of try things out. If you're really scared about losing money on the containment scarab or something, I can assure you the lower input methods are going to be great as well. And you can churn through them a little more quickly by not having to deal with as many boxes per map. So yeah, definitely try that out. Otherwise, again, this strategy is identical to the previous one where you're bringing in Chaos, Exalts, Alks, and Scours to touch up each strongbox that you actually want to open, and hope that you get to reopen them a couple times and just pick up all the valuable scarabs you can find, in addition to raw currency and divination cards, of course. I've got a couple of tips and tricks here at the end of the video, but if you've been enjoying this so far, I would definitely appreciate a like and a subscription for future videos coming out, especially as they pertain to the upcoming event. So first of all, I won't waste time going over every little possible detail of the Atlas tree, but I will provide a general baseline template down below in the description and in a pinned comment for each of the strategies, and you can tweak that however you want based on my next few tips here. Okay, so my first 3 points here are 1, that the Scarab blocking nodes on the Atlas tree do work. There's quite a bit of misinformation out there about this, and people that misunderstand how Scarab drops in general work, and I'm here to tell you that they do in fact work. I was doing a lot of breach farming in the main Mirage League in SSF, so I was target farming breach scarabs specifically, and I got loads of breach scarabs because I blocked everything but breach, and I even gave myself increased breach scarab chance, and I got literally 0 of other league mechanic scarabs that I blocked. And that's out of thousands of scarabs dropped. So if that's not evidence enough, I don't know what will be. Increased/more scarabs found does not work. And that is why we don't bother using originator maps. Getting more scarabs found in the map is not going to do anything for your returns, because those only increase the chance that a random drop is a scarab. When you open an operative box, the chance that the item inside will be a scarab is already 100% based on how the operative boxes work. So further adding weight to the scarab drops is not going to net you more scarabs from the boxes. It will get you more from random enemy drops and other like regular strong boxes if they drop scarabs, but that's such a minuscule amount of the scarabs that you'll be getting that it just isn't even worth thinking about. What does scale the amount of scarabs that you're getting is quantity. So that's why we're rolling for quantity of items in the strong boxes, and that's why we use 8-mod maps, and so more quantity equals more scarabs. Map effect is as good as ever at scaling that quantity, so make sure to pick that up on your Atlas tree as well. And my last 2 points here before signing off would be to target farm whatever scarabs you want with Atlas passives, kind of like I just mentioned, and to consider scarab rarity as well. So, like I just mentioned, I have been wanting to farm breach scarabs historically in Mirage League, so I blocked all of the blockable extra content except breach, so that scarabs found in your maps cannot be Legion, Expedition, Harvest, etc. And you don't need to block Heist. However, blocking Heist means the Mirage is less likely to be in a location that is over a Heist cache. So by blocking these other mechanics, you also help the Mirage contain the strong boxes as well. And if you are after a lot of a common scarab, you could potentially consider Remarkable Relics not taking this. However, I would most likely just leave it in. That's like a super advanced, super statistically oriented kind of thought process. For the most part, you're going to want to leave this checked because you can get bigger, rarer scarabs more often. But if you're in SSF specifically and you like are absolutely starved for a certain common scarab that you're going to be blowing through, then you could consider leaving this off if you don't want a better chance to get those rare scarabs. There are, of course, the 9 passives around the central ring here. I would suggest always leaving 100% increased chance to be ambush scarabs on, unless you're super over-sustaining with whatever strategy you're doing. And honestly, I myself probably could have left this off because I have hundreds of maps with of extra amber scarabs. So try that out, build yourself a surplus probably, and then pull back a little. If you leave yourself a set of 20 scarabs, or 20 maps worth of scarabs, you'll be able to pull back from there. No problems whatsoever. Outside of that, my last tip is that this is kind of it's not the fastest mapping strategy. You're not going to be in and out in 30, 60 seconds, but it's not a super heavy difficulty or high toughness type of mob situation. You're going in, you're opening the strong boxes, you're leaving. So try to find a mechanic that pairs well for high map turn rate. So for example, I've got all of the memory tear chance nodes up here because I know I'm going to do a high volume of maps. And I'm using Beyond specifically with strong boxes because in the Mirage, you have a chance to get a volatile Vol Orb from Beyond enemies. And because this is such a high density strategy, opening strong boxes close together and potentially reopening them, you're summoning a lot of Beyond demons. And so there's a decent chance to get a volatile Vol Orb from that. Eater or Exarch doesn't really matter. In my opinion, you shouldn't be focusing too heavily on, oh, I have to clear the map to get Eldritch Altars first. It's not really that type of strategy because that's going to represent a significant amount of the time that you're spending in each map trying to handle the altars and juice it just a little bit extra, and it's really not going to make a massive difference. If you prefer that gameplay pattern anyways, then go for it. Otherwise, you're going to do just fine not dealing with that. And of course, if you have your Void Stones, you can take both of the Keystones here because some altars will have influence from both Eater and Exarch. So I think the video has gone on long enough at this point. If you've watched to this point, thank you very much. Hopefully this wasn't too long-winded. Kind of a lot to explain, and I wanted to explain everything for anyone that potentially hasn't done the strategy or seen it before. I wish you good luck in the coming event, regardless of if you're playing trade or solo self-found. And thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Good luck and peace.